What's up, everybody? TonyPizzaGuy here with another video, and today we got, before we get into this, I need to just put a disclaimer out there because this is like a controversial type video that some people could say, well, Tony doesn't care about the women's Royal Rumble. He doesn't care about women because he's making a video about the challenges of the Royal Rumble and the women involved. Well, I have a purple chair here, and I'm going to Divalicious this one up, and we're going to go ahead and change it to purple. Is that purple enough? How about that? Is that a little bit more purple? How about, no, that's blue. What about pink? There it is. Finally, we're going to show these Diva Summers. Oh, shit. All right, now that we got that out of the way and we know that the women are key in this year's Royal Rumble, this is going to be awesome. Now, Mick Foley actually got interviewed by NBC Sports, and this is a big deal because NBC Sports is a big news outlet now with ESPN covering NBC Sports. I think this is awesome, and Mick Foley is a legend in this business. He's a huge advocate for women's wrestling. As you remember, maybe you don't remember, but back in the day, he was pushing for Melina to get a big spot in WWE because he thought she was awesome. And Melina, he just thought that she was a top woman in the business. And I think it's great that Mick Foley's sticking up for these women. He's going to say, you know what? They can go in there and they can fight just as good as the men. They can wrestle just as good as the men. And I 100% agree. I'm glad the Divas Revolution is gone and it's now the women's evolution here in the WWE. But he was actually interviewed by NBC Sports, and he came out and said, he was asked, what are some of the challenges the women will face in the Royal Rumble for the first time? And it's very interesting. He goes, I guess it depends on the position of the match card. I'm guessing it's going to be first. And that's a big one there, and that is the positioning of this. I think the positioning of any wrestling match is key when you get into WWE, because placing a match on the card that doesn't necessarily fit is going to be making the match even worse. So I think they can position this first, I think is key there. I don't think you close the show with the Women's Rumble. I think first would be the best, and then whatever you want to do with the World Championship matches, I don't know where you want to put those, but I think positioning that one first on the card is just perfect, and I think it's a safe bet. It's a great spot for it, because as you know, sometimes they do those big matches at the beginning. They've done World Heavyweight Championship matches at the beginning when they had the WWE and the World Heavyweight Championship, and then the Universal title and the WWE title. So they kind of have to decide where they want to put these on the card, and I think it's perfect. Do the Rumble at the beginning and then the men's at the end, and then you can have that surprise at the end if you want to have whoever the winner is, and that's how you go. You could do it potentially any way, but I think opening with the women's one is going to be best. So then he goes, just trying to live up to the lure of Rumbles in the past will be a challenge. It's almost the highlight of the show. The match really gains due to the anticipation during it. I'll be rooting for the women. I'll be glued to the TV and just hoping that it goes as well as possible for everyone. I hope they have a couple of surprise entries from the past and a couple of new names. The women are so determined through sheer force. They're going to have a very good match, but that's the one thing you can't book magic. I hope that there's elements of magic in the air when they take to the ring. There's a lot we need to dissect with that, so let's break it down. First, he says the lure of the Rumble, anticipation gains as the match continues, and he hopes to see some surprises throughout the match. And that's kind of how it works, because as the Rumble goes on, you have to have some good people to start the match, and then you got to have some surprise names sprinkled in with that. With the surprise names, I actually already put out a video on who I think could be surprise entries, some from the past, some from now. If you want to check out that video, it's on the channel. But as far as like surprises from the past, I think we could see some names that are very, very big. Like I said, I would love to see a Trish Stratus. I'd love to see a Lita, and I'd love to see a Gail Kim return into the WWE. I think those three names would be huge. They could put those in there. They could also bring back Caitlyn, if you remember Caitlyn from the Divas era of WWE. She actually is training and getting back into ring shape. So if you follow her on Twitter or Instagram or anything like that, she's always putting up pictures of her training and wrestling and stuff like that. So that could be cool. We could see a Bella return, which would be really cool. And that would be cool just to see some of those names from the past coming into this year's Rumble. Then you can get some new names debuting, and you know, we've already talked about it, but Ronda Rousey is the biggest name that I think needs to be in this Rumble. Ronda Rousey would be great. I think she could be awesome. I think it would be perfect. And then you can fit in those women that were in the Mae Young Classic, as well as some of the NXT women that could be called up to participate in this Rumble match. So that's the thing, the lure of the Rumble. You have to structure it in such a way that it keeps your interest throughout the entire thing. You need to know that you need to have two good ones right at the beginning to have a great match, to to hold the crowd until the next person comes out. And you could give us some surprises. We've seen that before. You could give us some shockers if you want. We could not. I don't know. But I think you need to end it with somebody strong, because that's always a big thing. Number 30. Who's number 30? But in the women's one, I don't know if it means as much, because it's not closing the show. And it's kind of a sour note with the end of the show with the Rumble is this is the end and this is who's the final one there. But there's that. One of the big challenges I think that have been faced that Mick Foley didn't really talk about, that people have been commenting on, is that are they going to be able to throw them over the top rope because they're so much shorter? And if you remember, most of the battle royals they did in the Divas era for the women's battle royal, they would always have to go over to the second rope to get eliminated, through this middle rope or over the top, and then you're eliminated. That was the way that they did it, because they didn't think that they could throw them over the top. Well, if you remember, last year they actually did a number one contendership for the NXT Women's Championship, and they did a over-the-top battle royal, and it worked out just fine. I don't think that's a big challenge for the women, is throwing them over the top, because they can step on the second rope and then they can throw them over the top, and that's perfect for me. I mean, there are women that are short, there are ones that are tall. It can work just fine. I think that's going to be the way that it'll just be fine. It'll be very, very, very fine. And I think that's just kind of how it's going to play out. It'll be, you can throw it over the top and there's going to be no issues. The other thing that I see here is there's going to be that big man spot in the Rumble, which I already see coming up. This isn't really a challenge. It's kind of just like thoughts on what I think is going to happen. We're obviously going to see some people try and eliminate the big person in this match, which is Nia Jax, because she is the biggest person in the Rumble, which I won't say anything about that, like as far as like the weight issue or any of that, because that doesn't even matter. It's just that's how WWE books things, is they always make the big person seem like, well, she's got to win, or like Big Show, right? Big Show, he's got to win. He's the biggest one in this match. It's going to be so hard for him to throw it over. But then they always get eliminated. They always get like triple team and they never win. That's kind of what I see with Nia Jax. Not to take anything away from her. She's an awesome athlete. She's great. You need all shapes and sizes in WWE, so you can't have everybody look the same. And I think she's perfect in her current state. I wouldn't change a thing about her. But what I do say is that they're going to do that spot that they always do. Let's gang up on the big one and throw them over, and that's how it's going to work. But like I said, she's perfect. I don't see her winning it, but I think that they're going to do that spot. The other spots that I think they're going to do is they're going to have those alliances. You're going to have Absolution, you're going to have the Riot Squad, be those alliances in that Royal Rumble. And I think you're going to see at least one of those groups break down in that Rumble match and kind of, I don't know if they're going to break up or if they're going to stay together or what they're going to do. But I do think there's going to be some interest there with that. And I think we're going to see a Riot Squad and Absolution go head to head. That's the only way that I see it. And when they do that, I think they're going to want a huge pop out of it, but I don't know if they're going to get that huge fan interest that they want. I think it would be like one of those things, okay, it's like Shields and Wyatts when they faced off, and then, but I don't know if there's that much interest in these groups with that. But honestly, I do think that's going to be something that's going to go on there. And then whoever is going to be the surefire winner of the first Women's Rumble, who knows? But I do know that it's going to be a big moment for them. They're going to put it over as a big moment. They're going to go on forever as the first women to win it. And then they can decide, do we want to keep it on Raw? Do they want to keep it on SmackDown? Because I don't know if they really have decided yet. If you win it and you're on Raw, if you have to be on Raw, or if you win it on SmackDown, you have to go on SmackDown, considering they have everything. Not sure what they're going to do, but we'll have to see as it all plays out. So anyway, Mick Foley, he says that the position of the card, the anticipation of the people coming in, and then also surprises are the way to make a good Rumble. And if they can capture all three of those, we're going to have a great time. And we're going to be in Philadelphia, so this is going to be a raucous crowd for us. They're going to be rambunctious. They're going to be awesome, because Philadelphia crowd is one of the best crowds in the entire world. So if they can make this match awesome, if WWE does what is right in this Women's Royal Rumble match, then it's going to be good. If they do what's wrong, you're going to hear it from the crowd and people are going to hate it. You got to have those surprises come back. You got to have some awesome stuff. Honestly, I'd love to see Gail Kim come back. I'd love to see Trish Stratus and maybe Lita. If that could happen, that would be awesome. I don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe a Beth Phoenix could be in it. Maybe a Bella could be in it. Ronda Rousey. If you put Ronda Rousey in it, number 30, surprise, I like it. You can make Ronda Rousey look good, putting her in last, and it's a great shocker at the end of the Rumble. That's what I say. That's how I would do it, and that's how I would book it. So anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to end today's video. If I missed any of the challenges that Mick Foley didn't mention, and you have some other things that you say, well, you know what about this? What about this for the Women's Royal Rumble? What about this? Or maybe you're not even a fan of the Women's Royal Rumble match, and you think they're just doing it just to do it, to say that we did history. I don't know. I actually think it's going to be good. Can't wait for the surprises. I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very cool. It'll be different, though, this year to see how it all plays out, considering they're going to have the women's and the men's, and they're both 30, and I don't know how it's all going to play out. Anyway, guys, that's where we're going to leave you today. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Smash that like button if you enjoy us. As always, we'll see you in another video.